What's going on, One Piece Pirates? Thank you for tuning back in today for another deck profile. This time, myself, Jimmy James, I'm going to be giving you guys a lowdown on my Whitebeard Straw Hat deck profile here that I recently took out locals with at a 30-man almost tournament. That was absolutely insane. Piloting through a lot of the hardcore meta at the moment. I believe that's just like Kinemon and whatnot. So, and Zoro and everything, and Ivankov, and so we got through it all. Went 4-0, absolutely awesome. But this deck profile is a little bit different because it is the Straw Hat Crew Whitebeard, but I've added cards into it that is not in your normal Straw Hat package, as you can see. It's because it's how I play, and the game mechanics on how I play with the deck is a lot more different on how I go about when I'm versing my opponent. So big shout out first to Ethan for helping me build the core structure of the deck. So I've been testing Whitebeard Straw Hat before OPO2 came out, printed out proxies and such, and I was just grinding it hard with him. And he actually put this together before OPO2 came out, and we were testing it, and it was testing really well. So when Moby Dick got nerfed, it affected me not whatsoever, because I'm just like, I've never played the Moby Dick package. I've tinkered with Marco a little bit. Marco is such a great card. It honestly is, but I don't need it. It's whatever, you know. You can ditch cards from your hand to save him by all means. Go ahead. But it's a different runaround, you know. It's a different sort of play style that you need to kind of look into. So I was like, Straw Hat's just insane. It's a very much bigger aggro rush deck, and I'm all about playing aggro. I'm a very aggro player in Dragon Ball. So I come from Dragon Ball, and I played One Piece, and this is just, yeah, it's a great deck. So big shout out to Ethan for helping me build it. Before we get really into it, also shout out to Mitch and the guys there at Beyond Odyssey, our sponsors here for Team PX3, and also for Indie TCT over there in Queensland. Thank you very much, man. We appreciate your love and support and everything that you help us with. So, Whitebeard. 6k leader, it is huge. The deck, look, it's you're taking a life at the end of every turn, which is, I feel it. It's a ticking time bomb. It is, but in the end, you're going to benefit hard with a lot of, you're going to plus a lot with cards and such. So you get card advantage on your opponent, which is huge. And the 6k that your opponent has to attack into is quite frustrating for them, because they've always got to put a Don underneath them, underneath their leader. So it is good. So playing the deck, I feel I'll kind of give you a little bit of insight on how I like to play the deck. It's because I have to try and guarantee a damage to my opponent every time I'm playing this, because you're taking a life every time, and you want to make sure you get a damage through. Because once you start to fall behind a little bit, you start to get on the back foot. You got to be like, oh, okay, we got to see how we can get around this. Because if your opponent has more life than you, when it gets to about when they get to about 2 life more, it starts to become a little bit of a struggle, and I feel you have to kind of keep on the level with them. You got to make sure that you're keeping them on your level as you're taking life at the end of every turn, because they're also going to swing into you too during their turn. So it's just like, you kind of got to try and even that out. So Otama's is a no-brainer. I mean, from set 1, everyone knows what this does. -2 on play, beautiful card, +2 counter. So we run 4, 8, 12. Pardon me, 16, I believe, we're Makinos as well. Makinos, yeah, Otamas, Jozus, and yeah, sorry, Sanjis. So we run 4, 8, 12, 16 +2k counters in this deck, which is huge. Because you don't want to be committing so much and afford to get hit as aggressively on the clapback. Choppers, look, we ran down to 3. I feel the block of Choppers is such a good card, but it doesn't have a counter, and it can be bounced, rested, everything. And I'm just like, I'm only going to use this in certain scenarios where I want to force my opponent to use card effects from their hand. So that way, then I can afford to waste a Don, knowing that I can still have enough counter to survive a clapback. Makinos are great as well. They give a +3 power when you rest her. So say if I've got, funny enough, if I do have like a Chopper or a Nami on the board, or even this Gordon, which I'll get to in a second. You're probably looking at this profile and going, why the hell are you running Gordon? Is because these guys can be buffed, obviously, from the Makino. So it's just a huge plus there, which I absolutely love. We all know Nami looking at the top, what, 5 cards and adding a Straw Hat Crew to hand, putting the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. She's such a great card. Beautiful card. I love this card. Searches out all your main Straw Hat Crew. Now, the reason why I added Gordon this is because, yeah, I've seen this in the Zoro package, right? But I thought he'd be quite interesting in this deck because I thought I'd run a 2 of, because obviously, you know, you place him at the bottom of your deck, you can minus one of your opponent's characters by 3,000 power, which is huge. And I thought that in combination with Seaquake is quite nice because then Seaquake kills a 3,000 or less character card on your opponent's side, and it's only 1 Don. So for 2 Don, I can utilize and kill a 6k powered character card on my opponent's side, which is quite interesting. Plus, you still gain the trigger effect, again, by negging 3k as well off on your opponent's leaders or characters during their turn too. So I was like, Seaquake can be quite interesting. It can be a very good card to utilize in my defense, as well as my offense. uh, Defense with the trigger, obviously, but offense with in line with Gordon. So and also not only Gordon, but of course Otama. Yeah, we do run the Vistas, and Vistas are huge. I felt that was more of a better card than Nico Robin, because Nico Robin you have to swing to get it off, where this one you just have to play Vista, and he kills a 3,000 power or less as well. Also, he's another 3k body on the field, and he's a +1 counter, so he's not dead in hand. And yeah, look, he goes in line good with, yeah, like I said, Gordon and even Otama. So these are the cards that I thought would utilize a lot more effectively against my opponent than, say, Nico Robin and such. Sanji's is a 4 of, like I was explaining before, we run 16 plus 2k counters in this deck, and it is insane. I'm always seeing a bunch of plus 2k counters, which is huge. Not only that, they're good for their effects as well to play, like a Sanji. Like the Sanji is great. I can play him for 2 if I want to take a life. Gains plus 2k, and then he also gets 2 rested Don. Like also, like I was backing up before, Otama and Makino for 1 Don. They both got great effects at -2 and +3k power to one of your 1 cost character cards. Luffy's. Now, if you're wondering why I run just 2 of them, I'm actually thinking about upping this guy to 3. He's such a good card. Like, look, I wanted to play something turn 2 in this deck, and I was like, what can be quite useful and resourceful to run in this Whitebeard Straw Hat Crew deck? And I was like, Luffy's actually a pretty gun card, because the card also can obviously utilizes your Don that's rested, 2 of them to attach to him, 5k power he gets, because he starts off at 3, goes up to 5. But not only that, once you attach the 2 Don to him as well, he can't be KO'd when battling strike attribute characters, which is nice as well. So he kind of can be a little bit frustrating against your opponent. And they don't see him really coming, because he just sits there. He's another good body there that I can utilize with rested Don to cause more attack pressure against my opponent. Jozu, obviously in the plus 2k counters, he's also another good card that that you can run for 4 Don. Yeah, you got to attach a Don underneath him, then he gains rush though. But say if I'm in a position going into a game, if I don't have anything else, I'll play him for 4, attach 6 Don to him. Then he's a 10k. Sorry, microphone cut off a little bit there. Yeah, then he's like a 10k with rush, and you can kind of whizzle down your opponent a little bit more quicker. We run Zoros. Zoros is huge. Everyone knows what Zoro does. He's such a good character card. 3 Don for a 5,000 rush card is huge. Yeah, he doesn't have a counter, but look, I thought running Zoros in the deck was such a good idea, because we want to get more rush cards in this, and we want to cause a lot more pressure against my opponent. Hence why, in this deck too, obviously Luffy's a big thing. Luffy with his 5 Don for 6k rush, and when attaching 2 onto him, they can't activate blocker. So big, man. Luffy's like my MVP in this deck. Like, he's so big. This card has won me so many games. And so has actually Ace. Ace has been like a good backup for 7 Don, 7k, gains rush, and negs 3,000 as well off 2 of my opponent's character cards. And he's such a good card in line with Seaquake as well. If I got that extra Don, then I can just use Seaquake, eliminate another blocker, just real quick. And it just kind of, you get more benefits out of that. It's more viable, I felt. Especially, yeah, going into matches with, say, Gordon that's already rested on the board. I sink him at the bottom of my deck and I'm minusing 3,000 on another character card of my opponent. It just hurts him a lot with all this negging. And facts that I can get over blockers quite easy, which is really good. Edward Newgate's a no given. Guys, it's like the best red card, I think, at the moment. It's just so good for 9 Don. Plus 2k to your leader until the start of your next turn. It's just huge. And it's good for, as you're taking life at the end of every turn, you need that extra buff. But the best thing about it is that you don't have to take life at the end of your turn for that turn when you're playing, which is what I love. And the fact that when you attach 2 Don to him, you KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less. That's huge. That's another blocker eliminator. And then also Radical Beams. Look, 4 of them, it's no given. When I get to 2 or less life, it's 1 Don for 4k. The card's insane. Radical Beam's huge. It's such a lifesaver in this deck. My matchups through the tournament involved Ivankov, Kinemon, Kaido as well, and I think it was a Zoro. So I was just like, I've battled through a lot of different colors, different meta decks and whatnot, and I feel quite comfortable mostly against blue, because it kind of works to my advantage a little bit, especially when you're rushing them down hard pretty quick. Look, it's a deck that might need to get used to for some people that want to give it a shot. It can seem a little bit weird at first, but once you understand the mechanic and the right lines of where you need to go, the deck actually synchronizes quite well. It synergizes insanely well. I mean, I like it. And I guess it's just how I play too. That's just me. Like, look, I'm not the best of players, but hey, look, like the deck I felt was really nice. I felt comfortable with it. And if you have any thoughts, any comments, please jot them down below. Happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. But the deck, yeah, it runs really cool. I am tinkering with a few little other cards in and out of it to kind of keep it fresh and try new things, because I love trying new things. I love trying different cards in the deck to see what can work and cannot work. And this is my own build then in the end that I've kind of constructed together with the help of Ethan on his core structure of the Straw Hat Crew. So thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. I absolutely appreciate it. You guys are rock stars. Yeah, again, big shout out to Beyond and TCT, our local supporters, and everything that they do. Beyond's insane. Mitch over there and the crew help us out a lot. So if you guys need any singles, any product, sealed product, don't forget to head down there in Balcatta. Yeah, give them a heads up, hit them up. Let Mitch and Tyler, his other go-to man, know what you want, and they'll help you out. They'll accommodate for anything you need. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.